Hola, bon dia, Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal show. So, hola, bon dia to you. Hola, bon dia, alegria. And Snatty Phil is straight in this morning alongside Joel and Stephen with great greetings. So, yeah, there we go. That's how we do it officially here. Snatty Phil, my guest tomorrow. And I was doing a little bit of research about Phil. Don't worry, Phil. Nothing too serious. But you mentioned that you trained with the legendary Mike Dooley, who I think stands firmly behind the phrase thoughts become things. So we're talking about the law of attraction tomorrow, Thursday here, as well as your love of Portugal and I think your upcoming road trip here in Portugal, notwithstanding restrictions that I don't want to alarm anybody, but I think we do need to talk about that elephant in the room. This is Wednesday where we are Ask Anything About Portugal, and we may be joined by the Doc. He's got a very busy schedule. He will squeeze us in if he can this morning, and of course the Doc, as his name suggests, will help you with any medical matters. He's a retired UK GP, and he can turn his hand to medical matters as well as bureaucratic matters, which he's a valiant campaigner within Portuguese bureaucracy on many fronts. So he can talk about that as well as the medical side and health side of things. If he's able to join us this morning, that is. Okay, so bon dia from Joel this morning as well, up in Matosinhos, up there near Porto. Portuguese. He's our northern Portuguese, of course. And Joel, very helpful on a Wednesday when people are asking anything about Portugal. But we will probably have a look at some of the stuff brewing around the variants, the intensity, what seems to be the renewed intensity and political intensity around the pandemic as well, with Angela Merkel being critical of Portugal. We'll see what we all think about that as the show progresses this morning. But do get your questions in. Ask anything about Portugal. Say anything about Portugal as well. How about that? I know, some of you are quite complete and fulfilled when it comes to finding out about your process for being here or living here. And there may be something you wish to share about your recent experiences here. So Stephen Wells, he's on the other side of the water, hoping to come to Portugal at some point. I think that's right, isn't it, Stephen? Or do you just like the show? I can't remember what your and you don't have to. I'm not trying to expose name and shame, which is what I think happened with Angela Merkel, shaming Portugal. I don't mean to name and shame anybody, but I'm very interested to hear your particular story about why you want to be or what your connection is with Portugal. But a bon dia to you anyway, whatever your response, even if it's none. That's Stephen Wells this morning. Paul Richards is here in San Rafael, the home of never-ending pleasure. Oh my goodness. That sounds like a hostelry of ill repute, the home of never-ending pleasure. I wonder how that translates into Portuguese. Joel, can we have a translation on the home, the Casa de Prazer? Is that how that would be? Casa de Prazer, the house of I know what never-ending is. The house of eternal pleasure in Portuguese, if you will. Maxine Williams, and I know that's a general sentiment for many people. I'm leaning over here, aren't I? I've got my green screen back there. Can you see that? I feel so much better with the green screen and a magnificent cockerel next to me, rather than my crestfallen one that looks like a Barcelo Caracois, a snail without the coxcomb that was on the shelves behind me. So great to have my green screen back. And yes, sorry, I distracted myself there, didn't I? Talking about green screens and leaning over it. Oh, that's what, yeah. I don't know what's happening with my posture here. Bon dia, Maxine Williams. How are you this morning? And Jim White as well, alongside Maxine. Bon dia to you as well, Jim. Susan Renshaw's here. Hi, Susan. In Torres Vedras, right? Good morning, all you lovely people. And Leona. Hola, the Doc's doing the school run. He'll be with you ASAP. There you go. He's good to go very soon, and may well be reporting from a quiet lay-by in the woods, which is always funny when he does that. And let's see where he turns up from this morning. So he's on the school run. Thanks, Leona, for that. Thank you very much indeed. Bon dia, Carl. How are you today? Well, how do I refer to my state this morning? I've had a bit of sort of abdominal lower back pain. If you really want me to go into it, maybe I should ask the doc about this. I couldn't get out of bed this morning, as Mrs. M was she was gonna stand in for me this morning and start the show up whilst I got myself together. But I left it right until the last moment. As you may be able to discern, my eyes are looking like the proverbial, what do we call it? The apertures among the among the snowfall. Let's call it that. But yeah, apart from that, circus school, Paul. And have you got any jokes for us today? We've heard a lot of your circus-based repertoire, and for some reason, it caused me to watch a Punch and Judy show. I know it's not entirely connected, but the skills of circus, the timing, the sense of occasion, the seaside, all of that, showbiz, the smell of the crowd, the roar of the grease paint, etc., caused me for some reason recently to watch a Punch and Judy show on YouTube, and I really enjoyed it. I know it's not like politically correct, is it, or and a bit old fashioned, but there it was, and I think I was reminded you of at the time, is that kind of humor within the Punch and Judy. I think he's along your sort of wavelength as well, Paul. So any circus-related jokes from you this morning, alongside the what do clowns smell like? Well, they smell funny, of course. And, how do you kill a circus? Go for the juggler. Those are your standard fare. I wonder if you've got anything to improve upon that for us this morning. And how are you? I should ask as well, Circus School Paul. Hello, guys, says Michael. How's Porto with the virus? Now, let's have an update, please. Where you are, actual reportage, testimony, personal testimony. If you're in Portugal, what's going on? We'll help with Michael here with his question. How's Porto with the virus? I'll look at some news stories. I've no personal first-hand experience of life in Porto at all, really. I've been there a couple of times, but it's very interesting to find out from people who are actually living in places, isn't it? Beyond what's being said in the news. So if you're there, excuse me, Paula, Joel from our community, I know, around Porto or in Porto for Paula, newly there. What are the chances there might be any restrictions in the city? Because that's what's been happening in Lisboa, of course. Started last weekend restrictions in Lisbon currently. So we'll see what that how that might unfold according to the doc when he joins us. Elra Linda, good morning, everyone. Heat wave continues in Finland. Almost 30 degrees in Helsinki with a nice red-faced emoticon. Sweaty red face there for Elra. Is that unseasonal? I think it sounds like, from what you're saying, it might be, Elra. Or is that normal this time? It's just a bit of a surprise. And as a Portuguese person who's gone to live in Finland, are you doubly surprised there with 30 degrees? Let us know. Is that more climate change happening there? By the way, it's coming home. What do you mean, Phil? Oh, the football. Yes. We always knew, didn't we, that England would end top of their group. Quite amazing. And some, some of the doom mongers and some not so confident about England's chances were hoping for a loss last night for better opposition in the next round, I think. But they beat the Czechs last night, didn't they? Was it 1-0? And not a great game, as I'd heard it on the radio, and the proper pros, the pundits, were saying, yeah, not a brilliant game, but point's a point, or a couple of points. We'll going through top of the group. That's great. Gareth Southgate, what a job to have. And this dance that the English fans do, sort of losing faith, and then maybe not, maybe something good could happen. It could be coming home again. Either they're coming home or it's coming home, the football and the cup. Let's see. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll have a chat about that tomorrow, Phil, when you're on the show. Bon dia all. Actually, yes, abundance, living life abundantly is our topic tomorrow, Thursday, and that Phil's joining us to talk about that. He and partner Kimberly are trainers, experts in the whole business of the law of attraction and living abundantly, and adapting your mindset for best results in life. If I put that right, Phil, do correct me in the comments if that isn't right. And I should add as well, tomorrow, busy day. Meet up with me, Ask Our Expats buddies. That's not an open meeting, but I'm looking forward to meeting you guys tomorrow, where we talk about things to help people better in Portugal, the Ask Our Expats team. And so it's a busy night, a Thursday night for me. And then 9 o'clock, it's This Is Coming Home, the wine number 50, and my retirement from the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club with this Vidicera signature. We've tasted 50 wines. It's going to be a great evening. Neil Perkins leading the way with that from 9 o'clock. And before that, though, a very special webinar, and it is residency visas, myths and facts, with the ever popular, increasingly popular, the rock star of migration to Portugal. That will be Gilda Pereira, who joins me on a Monday morning. So 7:30, residency visas, myths and facts, coming into Portugal, what you need to know. And 9 o'clock, the wine club. But this morning, Wednesday morning, ask anything about Portugal. Have you got any questions, or are people still checking in? They are checking in. Robert Ryan is bon dia. Oh, thank you, Robert. Nice to see you here this morning. And Valerie Spencer Becks. Look, morning. A beautiful day here in San Martino de Porto this morning. Blue skies, blue shimmering water, sunshine. Gentle breeze, good for the soul. I can feel it as I visualize that. Valerie, a good morning to you. Excellent. How lovely and how lucky you are to have premises in the bay there. Absolutely wonderful. And got to be on your list, folks, of things to do in Portugal. Go at least once to San Martino de Porto and see that beautiful place. I would say in spring or autumn. Gets a bit busy in the summer, but still very beautiful. I don't think anywhere gets that packed, does it, in Portugal? Possibly the Algarve beaches, if and when the British and Germans are allowed in. I did hear, amusingly, that the German tourists are saying they don't need to put the towels on the sun loungers in the morning because the Brits aren't allowed to travel. An upside for German tourists to the current situation there. Or was that just some wag making some cheeky race-based fun there? Bon dia, Mark Stoll. I think it does happen. There's old towels on the sun lounger thing. There must be some truth in it. Hello, have been really busy, but checking in tonight. Oh, yes, tonight in New Zealand, of course. What you been up to, Denise? And I love, when we spoke to Vinny, we had a great chat, didn't we? And we heard about your lifestyle. Busy time of year, what? Because you're busy in the garden? Our garden, our growing is really taking off. Took the kids to harvest. Oh yes, funny thing happened yesterday. Took the kids up the orchard, and we were picking the last of the apricots. Really good. The plums, which are delicious. The tree is burdened. Talk about abundance, natural abundance. The plum tree is bulging with purpleness at the moment, and delicious as well. Plums straight from the tree. And then a little bit later on in the day, is that why you're busy? Let us know, Denise. Are you busy because of the garden or whatever else is going on in New Zealand? But a little bit later on, a little bit of a flurry of excitement. Mrs. M comes along. She's holding a baby duckling. And Jimmy Choo, who some of you will know, Jimmy Choo the dog, had brought a duckling friend home. And he carried it like a gun dog, I'm told, by the kids, in his mouth, but had not hurt it in any serious way. Obviously a bit traumatizing for the little baby duckling. And thereupon we had a little bit of an adventure, Scooby-Doo style adventure, to reunite the baby duckling with, as it turns out, our neighbors. It's a free-range duck who Jimmy made friends with and brought him home. But he's safely reunited up the lane again now. So yes, every day's a little bit different. Every day has its own adventure. Well done, Jimmy Choo, for not killing the little duckling. Hola, bon dia, alegria from sunny Hampshire. Bit worried about what is happening with our fruit trees. Ooh, as still a couple of weeks until we get back. Okay, yes, I imagine you might miss your apricot and plum season at this rate, Paul. Can't you get a neighbour to go pick them for you? Or maybe they already are. You might experience some brilliant Portuguese hospitality. You might come home and find buckets of plums on your living room table. How about that? Maybe. And is that what you're worried about, Paul? Good morning to you, by the way. Are you worried that it's all going to have grown and fallen? There's going to be just windfall on the ground and you'll come back to a naked tree. But anyway, Godspeed to you, and hopefully you can get back to enjoy your Portuguese fruit that you've long looked forward to, I suspect. Bon dia from Provence, France. Robert Winkler is here again this morning. Hi, Robert. How are you? Bonjour, mon ami. Bon dia. After 58 years and 11 months, says Marty, I have finally walked among the fine people of Portugal. Oh, yes. Well done, Marty. Currently in Arganil, skipping rocks on the Rio Alva. That sounds really momentous. 58 years and 11 months. Really brilliant to hear that news, Marty. That's fantastic. And Arganil is so beautiful. What a great place to touch down and enjoy life in Portugal. The Doc is limbering up in the green room, nearly gracing your screens there. Just trying to make contact. A few more hellos and comments, and maybe even some questions on Ask Anything Day in Portugal. Bon dia from Dona Graça. Hola, Dona Graça. How are you? Tudo bem? Bon dia. Been to see our house. Fantastic, says Bob Spondon. Very pleased. Much better and beautiful than we ever thought. Have a video, but it's on my phone. Do I just attach it? Yeah, send it to this number. That's great, because we did invite you, didn't we, Bob? I think you were the man who bought... Oh, that's how you call the studio. And you can send pictures and messages. This is the better one. 913-590-303. Yes, Bob. well up for seeing your video of your house as you walked into it. You bought it on the internet, didn't you? And now you've seen it, and it's much more beautiful in real life than you remember in the pictures. Whoop, whoop. Marty from Snatty Phil. Marty, that was a long wait, 58 years and 11 months. Hope you're enjoying it. I bet he is. Gary Austin, hola, bon dia, alegria. Big love for everyone. Nice one, Garvo. Hold on a minute. What's happened? Let's just add this. Look, this is the view from inside the cockpit of the Doc's reporting this morning. We'll come back to that. That's not working very well so far. Do excuse me for coughing there. Bon dia, Carl from Barbara over there in Poland. How are you? Dzień dobry. Germany, France or Portugal, either way, we have to play much better than we have been doing, or we will be going home. Yes, going home, not coming home, as it were. There is a difference, isn't there? Paul Richards, Algarve people are wonderful. New PT arrived next door and started barbecuing. 10 minutes later, knock on the door and offered part of their meal, just like being in Yorkshire, just better food. Well, I can't wait for some Yorkshire Portugal hybrid cookery. With a bifana inside a Yorkshire pudding, something along those lines. Wouldn't that be great? But yeah, there you go. Barbecue starts up. In England, you're thinking, barbecue next door. Just put me washing out. That's probably what it's like in Yorkshire, isn't it? Oh, I've just put me laundry out, and next door a sparked up barbecue. They've got no consideration for other folk. But here in Portugal, they bring you some of their barbecue. So it's a good sign. It's just like the papal smoke coming up from your neighbour's barbecue is a portent for some food incoming. Excellent. And some Portuguese neighbourly hospitality. Yay, Portugal's potential for the future. Oh, yeah, okay. So just finding out from Stephen. Have a dream of an old building on a big bit of land. Yes, that's a great Portuguese dream. Running business retreats mixed with meditation in nature and sunshine. Sounds great, Stephen. I'll come and do a workshop for you. I'd be delighted to. Just working on a particular program. I've been dabbling in this sort of spiritual stuff. I was just calling it nonsense for decades now, various projects. But my latest one is called Get Over Yourself, which is my latest contribution to the world of spirituality. A little course called Get Over Yourself. Maybe I could run a little version of it on your big bit of land. El Rolinda, not sure. This is my first summer in Finland, but after minus 20 degrees in winter, this surely feels extreme. Let's just quickly check in with the Doc. He's on the move. Doc, look at this, a little tour of Portugal. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, thanks, Carl. Hola, bon dia. So I've got Leona in the passenger seat holding her phone because my phone's died.
All right.
So, it's all right. It works.
This is great.
As you rightly said earlier, I have a fairly busy schedule this morning. Not looking forward to my appointment later. And you know what it's for, but I won't describe it on air. But anyway, there we go.
Yes, people are having their breakfast after all. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that, Doc. This is really great, actually. Leona is on camera at the moment, so I'm sort of self-produced here. People like the Doc have got actually a camera woman here, and we're seeing scenes of Leria's outskirts, I think, and the beautiful. There you go, Leona's there.
That's all you're getting.
This is the back streets of Marinha Grande, actually, at the moment.
The back streets of Marinha Grande. But what we can see here is some of the architecture and the absolute blazing sun and the beautiful blues of the sky there, bouncing off everything. It's looking like a great day there. He's probably got the air conditioning on as the Doc, because I would have thought you'd have your wayfarers on and your elbow on the window as you drive along in the Portuguese sun there. But
I would normally, but the noise would interfere with the broadcast. So, ever the professional, I'm sacrificing my personal comfort for the quality of the show.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, Doc. That's why you get paid the big bucks. Absolutely. What a pro. What a pro. Okay, so he's here now and able to answer your questions, and Leona might chip in as well. What excellent value we're getting this morning. Perfect, Carl, is the description from Snatty Phil about tomorrow's appearance. Let's call it an appearance. And from Rudy Nogueira Fal. Yes, sorry, I must get some spectacles. Is there a channel like this in Portuguese? There will be one day when my Portuguese is up to it, Rudy. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I guess the reason we did this is because when the pandemic kicked in, and it was a very scary time, wasn't it? Sort of 16, 17 months ago, didn't know what was happening. I thought I'd create something for English speakers who couldn't understand what was going on Portuguese news necessarily. I would have thought Portuguese news has it covered, Rudy. But what is it you would be looking for from something like this, a channel like this in Portuguese, I wonder? Gary,
Carl, it must be the irreverence.
Oh,
it's
I see.
Fresh approach.
I see. Yeah, okay. The slightly unorthodox approach to things of broadcasting. Okay. Retirement, but you haven't tried pink port yet. What's that in relation to? A retirement, but you haven't tried pink port yet. Oh, my retirement from the wine club. Okay, well, let's do it tomorrow night. Why don't we have pink port to finish, which will bring a pink hangover, I suspect, as well, because port is lethal and legendary, isn't it, in the hangover business? It's not a permanent retirement, Gary. It's just a dry year, and I will be building a cellar, so I think pink port needs to be in that cellar. You looking forward to that tomorrow night? The Vidigueira signature, Doc?
I am, although I haven't been able to get the signature. I've got the premium, and I was planning to visit Neil to pick up a spare bottle of his, but then this thing later got in the way, so yeah, it's not happening.
Okay, issues. We've got issues about getting the wine, but okay.
Yeah, but I'd like to try some white port. I like white port.
Yeah.
And we haven't had that either. So yeah, there's lots of things that we'll go through, I guess.
Yeah, white port is lovely. So, question now: I think there's an elephant in the room around the pandemic. We just don't want to talk about it, really, do we? Because we fear the worst, I think. But we should address it from various news sources. We'll get your view on it in just a moment. Specific question for Dijan here, Dijan Sahara: is it lockdown only in Lisbon? All over Portugal during the weekend? It's only Lisbon at the moment, as far as I know, but these things can change immediately. How's it looking to you from your medical perspective, Doc? I mean, I call it the elephant in the room. I think we're fearing the worst. We don't really want to talk about it. Is that right? Do you think more restrictions are coming back?
I think it's difficult to say. So, as you know, my view is that I think we have seen the capacity of the Lisbon hospitals. Understand why they've locked Lisbon down if they're working off that sort of data.
Right. You're breaking up a bit. But I got the
rest of Portugal, I think, at the moment looks likely to stay where it is.
Yeah. Okay.
If you look at what happened in the UK recently, a couple of weeks ago, the UK government was all about cases, but yesterday, all Johnson could talk about was the death rate. So the politicians in the UK certainly pick their data to suit their purpose, and I suspect Portuguese politicians might be prone to doing the same. But I think at the moment they seem to be being sensible in Portugal.
Yeah, and we're talking. Yeah, I think we're talking about this from a global perspective here. I know this is Good Morning Portugal. This is Ask Anything About Portugal. But given that we're a group of people all over the world with an interest in our personal lives wherever we are and freedom, dare I say it, you mentioned political purposes and politicians going for cherry picking data or particular sources to suit a particular purpose. What do you think that purpose is? And I don't think that's uniquely British, Portuguese, or American, for example, is it? What is the purpose of further restricting people rather than opening up? Is it fear of the consequences of doing that? Well,
so this is the point. What Johnson was doing yesterday was using the lack of a rise in the death rate or the hospitalisation rate to not lock down any further or not prolong the lockdown any further than he feels necessary. whereas if you go by the cases, which are rising, then you'd expect some further restrictions. So I think that the cherry picking by Johnson this week was in order to support a less restrictive view of things than the rise in cases might have suggested, if you feel that it was the rise in cases that's more important. It's the one time I've agreed with Johnson's use of the data for a long time, but it contrasts with his use of the case rate a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So other views welcome on this as to what you think it might be happening. So I was very delighted to see in the Portugal resident, Natasha Don, talking about of ivermectin actually being used in Portugal. And I know whenever you mention Fox News, it does, people just switch off or on. It's very polarizing as a news source. But she was talking about how in the United States, one news channel, and I quote, has finally addressed what it calls the potentially deadly impact of censorship and media cover-ups as evidence mounts that big tech and corporate media has silenced truthful facts about COVID to the detriment of the American people. Fox News' Sunday morning features gave time to two doctors convinced of the efficacy of current drugs in treating early symptoms of COVID-19. Drugs that should be easily available, but supply of which has been severely limited through the pandemic. We know where this is going, don't we? One of these drugs, ivermectin, is being prescribed by doctors in Portugal quietly. They are a small group. They do not even seek payment for the remote prescriptions they supply to those who find them, because they believe this direction is the best direction, facing the virus and dealing with it at its early stages. The wonder of ivermectin is not new, and Portugal resident, I believe, did an article on it, and I can give you the link to that if you want it. It is simply that for reasons unclear, its efficacy is being suppressed. So there is this concern as well, isn't there, that if I paint a bit of a picture here, everyone was told, weren't they, if they followed the rules, social distancing, mask wearing, washing hands, and got vaccinated, everything would be fine. And that's not what they're discovering, is it?
Well, no. And in terms of the suppression of ivermectin and potentially other effective anti-COVID agents, we've seen the power of big pharma in terms of their gaming the supply of vaccines early on in the supply chain, in terms of their howls of anguish at the thought that their intellectual property rights might be undermined in order to get the vaccine out to people.
Yeah.
And big pharma are quite capable of suppressing the evidence around ivermectin in order to increase the profits that they're going to get through the distribution of vaccines and other more profitable agents.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it looks to me like we should be rightly skeptical and suspicious of both the big pharmaceutical companies and governments at the moment, and get a balanced view, create our own balanced view, which is exactly what we're doing here on the Good Morning Portugal show. That's why we get the doc on. That's why we welcome and air your comments about this inside our comments and chat here as well. John William Young is here. Hey, you cheeky guys. That might be to you, me, and Leona there. Thanks for doing this. Johnny Young from Los Angeles this early morning. Reg Pello, bon dia todos. Mark Rigby, bon dia from a sunny Povoa de Varzim this morning. And good morning from a cloudy Scotland, Perth, from Abel Pinheiro, the Portuguese in Scotland there. Good morning from a cloudy grey Perth from you. Thank you. We are playing at Wembley. Already home. It's great, isn't it, when football fans say we, as though they're actually playing the game on that turf. I love it. Except when they're losing, then it's not we, it's them, isn't it? A bon dia from a sunny Provence from Robert Vinkel. Good morning to you again there, Robert. And Pam Smith is here. Bon dia con muito sol. So very sunny here in Portugal. I'm feeling it. Looking out the window, it's looking good. Can you do, I don't know if this is aimed at you or not, Doc, can you do Yorkshire puddings on the barbecue?
I've never made Yorkshire puddings on a barbecue. I suppose you could.
Okay.
Get your bun tray out and put it on top of the barbecue.
Bun tray, interesting. And well, for me, I think that should rightly spark a diplomatic outrage, and the British ambassador should be all over that if that should ever happen. That is a disgrace, Stephen. I don't know how you dare mention it, quite frankly. Yorkshire puddings on the barbecue. My Yorkshire grandmother be turning in her grave. I have been to Poland, says Joel. Love the city. And so Joel and Barbara making friends after a bit of a fallout there in the comments, I think, potentially. Yes, we did buy on the internet, says Bob Spondon. Lots of fruit trees too, more land, our own spring and stream. What a beautiful picture, eh? Fantastic views. Sat on the hillside of the Serra da Estrela National Park, structurally sound, new roof, needs a lot of work, but it'll be so worth it. Keep us informed of that journey, Bob Spondon there. And the beautiful sun that the doc is glancing off the doc's face there as he drives through Marinha Grande and Leiria. You'll be having exactly that beauty of the Portuguese sunshine there. And they're nearly home. Look at it. Look at that sky. And little just past Little's as well, I think. Are we stopping?
Yeah, there's the stadium.
Oh, look, there's the stadium, the multicolored stadium.
No, we're all right.
No, I'm not going to Lidl.
You'll get the castle in a minute.
Oh, we're going to get a look at the sun.
Sure,
Thank
the castle,
you.
there we are.
I mean, no disrespect to you, Doc, but that's much better. We can still hear you.
Cheers.
Gdynia is not my place. So Barbara is Silesian from Portugal. Okay, I'm well, thank you, Carl. I was in London yesterday, and there was a guy near Oxford Street selling COVID-19 vaccines, 2 each or 3 for a Pfizer. Very good, topical as well as circus-based. Hola, bon dia. It's the Midlands and sun is shining again. Still looking for a small farm with a stream, Carl, says DJ. If you find one, can you run your Get Over Yourself? Oh, I can run my Get Over Yourself course at my farm retreat for sure. Thank you. The bookings are coming in already. Carpe Diem says, hola, bon dia. 1 week to go, and we are on the ferry back. Excellent news. Fiona Doherty, bon dia, hoping to become an expat in a year or two. Fiona Doherty in Scotland. Kiss, kiss. Thank you for that, Fiona. Barbara, the only drawback I found was the language barrier. Yeah, speaking Polish. Come on, Joel, you can do it, a man of your intelligence. Bearders 22's here as well. Morning all, 29 days and counting. How do I convince the Mrs. Bearders 22 to sell up and move to our place in Lagos permanently? All right, that's a question for both of us, isn't it, Doc? I think Mrs. Bearders, understandably, not entirely sure about Mr. Bearders 22's plan to move lock, stock and barrel to Portugal. What would you suggest as a strategy to keep marital harmony here?
Oh, I'm not the great expert on marital harmony, but I didn't find any difficulty persuading Leona to come to Portugal. So I don't know. What do you do?
Leona might like
the best thing to do is to just get her out here and don't let her move.
yeah, and also do the right thing. Do the sort of the right partner thing, and let her at some stage believe it was her idea in the first place. That to me is the right thing to do. After she's come here and fallen in love with Portugal and Lagos. So there you go. That's sorted. Let us know how that goes. We did a white port on the wine club. We have drunk white port on the wine club before Doc's residency there. Kate is here. Kate Gimbler. I'm sadly not surprised about the temperature extremes in Finland. Climate change is already much more profound in the far north than the temperature zones, according to climate scientists. It's on a serious note there. And Rudy, where have we got? I've lost your comment now, Rudy. Lots of comments coming in. This is great. Thank you very much. Any questions? Remember, you can ask these from a medical point of view. Retired UK GP Doc is with us, as his name suggests, an actual doctor. Can you retire comfortably? Here we go, Doc. Here's one for you. Can you retire comfortably with $2.5 US grand a monthly income in Portugal? This will be for a couple. $2.5 grand a month. It is, isn't it? Even in dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to lose me for about 5 minutes as I go up in the go underground in the car park and then up in the lift.
I think the music we need for that is ding 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 ding.
My motivation.
It's Leona's morning motivation that comes on her phone that she's having difficulty turning off.
Oh, I see. Do you mean to tell me, Leona, we are not your morning motivation? Okay.
No, and this doesn't work either. I still don't want to get out of bed.
Same here, but we do anyway.
I just don't know how to. I just don't know how to cancel it off the phone.
All right. So should we reunite with you when you're back in, when you sorted that tech difficulty out and you're back in your flat?
Yeah,
We'll be 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you for the tour of Marinha Grande and Leiria. Perfect start to the
See you in a bit. Pleasure.
Yeah, cha. Okay, so the doc will be back in a little while. And Rudy, yes, absolutely, $2,500 a month in Portugal. I mean, I don't know what obviously it all depends on your lifestyle. It's all relative, but that sounds like a princely sum to be enjoying life in Portugal with. Okay, Sarah Pretlove, bon dia, Carl and Doc. Planning our move next year, and so excited. Due to health issues, I'll need a rheumatology consultant. When he comes back, we could put that to him, Sarah. Or I mean, maybe you just know what you need, and that's what you're going to find. But if you want more advice from the doc, he'll be back in a few minutes, as you just discovered there. Hepatologist and ladies consultant. How do I go about this? My experience of that, Sarah, is that if you get yourself a medical health insurance and get one where you can, and I hesitate to say this because I'm always encouraging people to speak Portuguese, but with the legals, with the money, with the health. Great to have a helpline where you can call and actually know you can speak to somebody in English. Now, our experience of I think it was Medis, but it was done through the Millennium Bank, was that we did have such a system for about €50 a month for the whole family of 5. And we were able to call a helpline and they were able to book us with a consultant of whichever kind we needed. So that's what I would say to you. Get yourself a medical insurance policy that allows you to call a helpline and they'll book you up with the best consultant of the kind you wish in the hospital closest to you. And notwithstanding, you may have to go a bit further for a particular kind of consultant. So it's all about the insurance you choose from my point of view on that question, Sarah. Barbara, that was what I did. Actually, 2 police officers, hold on, what's happened to Joel in Poland, were the ones that pointed me in the Gdansk and the correct platform to catch the train. Okay, so Joel's weekend, his wild weekend in Poland, by the sound of it. Yeah, that is the only way to do it, says Snatty Phil. Make it her idea. On the same wavelength, Phil. Very good. Old people can't speak English. It's another story. Very sad. Poland has been communizing country a lot of the time. Okay, so that's Joel and Barbara chatting there about speaking Polish. Worldometer have a week-on-week comparison. Okay, going back to the elephant in the room, the elephant variant. Worldometer have a week-on-week comparison figure that shows that infection rates rose by about 50%. I wonder if with the Delta variant, it is affecting younger people. So, okay, this is what the government's concerned about, is the sharp rise in infection rates. Could be shedding, could it not? Massive amounts of vaccination, possible shedding, therefore detection of infection via that route. No one seems to ever talk about that. Gary Austin, important, ivermectin is not a cure, says Gary. It's a treatment, isn't it? It does affect the virus's reproduction rate. It does help with survival rates and hospitalization. The way to control something is to stop it breeding. Yes, there you go. Thank you for that, Gary. Bad Farmer by Ben Goldacre changed my views around pharmaceutical industry for good. Yes, he is quite a writer. And when I used to write about alternative health, I did find myself on the sharp end of his stick and his buddies for a little while. But yes, he's all about dispelling quackery, isn't he, in medicine? And Bad Farmer, the pharmaceutical industry, not beyond his scrutiny as well, by the sound of it. Okay, yes, pharmaceutical companies, they are, let's face it, as well as healing people, they are about making money. And sometimes it's hard to figure out which one's which. But sadly, watching some of the sporting events, yes, what is going on there? One rule for the G7, different rule for regular folks. One rule if you're involved in sport. Different rules for other things other than sport. Weddings, for example. Apparently, a wedding in the UK, the only people allowed to dance are the bride and groom. Yet thousands of people were able to go to a football match together and hug and kiss each other when a goal is scored, presumably. How do they stop that? But sadly, watching some of the sporting events, says Carpe Diem, many are certainly not following social distancing. Yeah, people still appear to be not following advice. Therefore, the virus will keep spreading. The Delta variant is a big problem for Lisbon because fewer people are double vaccinated than in the UK. The AstraZeneca first vaccination is only 30% effective against Delta, so rising hospitalizations likely. I'm sorry to be bringing this bad news and to be talking about this subject, but there are times when you have to face something, aren't there, rather than not look at it, and that's what we're doing this morning. Barbecuing Yorkshire pudding on a barbecue, never. It is like eating soup with a fork. Yes, quite right. A firm and fair rebuttal of such a silly idea, Stephen. What were you thinking? The Circus School, me and Mrs. Circus School went to play cards last night, but someone had glued all the cards together. I was so annoyed. I didn't know how to deal with it. Oh, my word. Thank you, I think. Wow. Barbara, you don't understand. We can't say nothing. Okay, so that's a continuing conversation between Joel and Barbara there. Thank you for that, you guys. Carpe diem. Looking forward to spending our Ruby anniversary in Portugal. How lovely. Carpe diem. Ruby is which one? Do remind me. I can't. Doc might know that. Here he is, about to appear through the... He's coming out of the lift now. He parked in the basement and he's coming out of the lift into his James Bond-style apartment. Penthouse, no doubt. Oh, and he's doing aerobics as well now. Doc, how many years is a Ruby anniversary before Carpe Diem answer that? Do you know?
How many is a Ruby anniversary? Oh, is it 40?
It could well be, but Carpe Diem will tell us, and they're looking forward to celebrating that one in Portugal. That'll be lovely. Bob Sponder, we chose to go to Portugal the day after it went amber. Oh, had private COVID test before we left. Private test became back. Had to pay and pay for day 2, day 8, and test released on day 5 at a cost of nearly 800 quid. Someone's doing well out of this pandemic, aren't they, Doc? Only to be told by NHS we'd been in contact with positive case on a plane and forced to isolate for 10 days, losing 150 quid on the test to release, being called by the NHS every day up to 3 times to check we are isolating. Been a nightmare from the UK side and very expensive. Oh, my word. That is outrageous, isn't it? Or has Doc lost us there? Maybe he's shaking his head at something else there.
Got no sound.
We can hear you.
No sound.
We can hear you, Doc. We can hear you.
Oh,
I'm going to Can someone tell the Doc we can hear him in the comments? That would be great. Thank you. Love Portugal, says Rudy there. Just going to remove Doc for a minute. It might need to come in and out again. Turn it off and on again. Look, Joel and Barbara are making up 50% of the comments with their own conversation here this morning. Off for an afternoon tea in the Lincolnshire Wolds. That's an interesting word, isn't it, for anyone outside the UK, the Wolds. Thanks to the Portuguese. Yeah, not allowing you in the country. Sorry about that. I speak on behalf of the government when I say sorry, Carpe Diem. Is there another seaside town similar to Ericeira but more affordable in terms of housing? Asks Rudy Nogueira Fal. Is that better?
Yeah, don't know what happened there.
I think you should step straight into this question, actually, from Rudy. Is there another seaside town similar to Ericeira?
Is there another seaside town similar to Ericeira but more affordable? And says how? I don't know. Marina Grande is about 20 minutes from the beach, and there's affordable housing there. I don't know any other
Silver Coast
seaside towns as such. And I can't hear you again. The
what?
Gone off again.
Oh, not sure what's happening there, Doc. But I would say try Figueira da Foz. I think it's very popular with the Portuguese, but still cheaper, I think, than Ericeira. It's a bit further away, of course, from the capital. Ericeira, I suspect, has a bit of a premium on it because of its proximity to the capital, Rudy. But check out the Silver Coast as well. That's only just over an hour away from the capital. Come inland a little bit, or if you want a sea view, you can get that San Martino de Porto, where Valerie was speaking from earlier on. So yeah, I'm sure Valerie would be very happy to help. Behind you, Doc. Is someone behind you? Is that Steve?
Yeah, that's
hello,
Steve.
Steve.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope that helps, Rudy. Other suggestions, very welcome. This is a hive effort on Wednesdays on Ask Anything About Portugal. I'm looking for a good health insurance to buy. And a suggestion, says Bia Robinson, go to Winsurance in our directory. I'm going to have Nuno Mendes on the show next Tuesday to talk about insurance. So he'll be with us from Winsurance on Tuesday. Hi, Doc. One for you. My hay fever is so bad at the moment. Antihistamine, nasal spray, not doing anything. Eye streaming constantly. Oh, sorry to hear that, Susan. Any suggestions apart from staying indoors with all the windows closed?
Well, we used to inject a long acting depot corticosteroid in severe cases of hay fever, and people, they think about hay fever and think, oh well, even if it's bad, it's not going to be serious. But actually, it can be. It can trigger serious asthmatic attacks. So. My doctor here, I saw yesterday, and I just happened to say, well, I used to have hay fever, but I haven't had it for years. He said, oh, well, okay, but if it causes you problems for more than 3 days, then you must come and see me. So I think the answer is see a doctor. Be prepared to consider a depot corticosteroid. It'll last you for a few weeks and probably won't need to be repeated that year.
There you go. I've had success with tissue salts. I don't know what you think about those, Doc, but I think we're in the homeopathic realm of medicine. But I found those tissue salts. I can't remember what the company is who makes them, but you'll find them in a health food store. And they're very inoffensive things. They're a little sort of sugary tablet that not unlike a homeopathic remedy, and miraculous results. So yeah, all sorts of options are available.
I'm certainly very open-minded to anything that works. I'm not your typical don't touch it if it hasn't got 300 peer-reviewed articles. We didn't get to the peer-reviewed medications and treatments without actually trying stuff that hadn't been peer-reviewed. So yeah.
Very good. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. That's always good to hear, and it kind of it reflects perfectly, doesn't it? Or chimes perfectly with the discussions around the pandemic as well. Of course, I'm not anti-vaccination. I've had mine, says Gary, but using all available options may prevent lockdowns. Exactly. We do need a broad base, don't we, to look at this, because it does tend to go into a very narrow view of things, doesn't it? When the media and industrial medicine get together, it's like this is the thing to do, and then other sort of more fringe things that can be helpful tend to get marginalized, a bit like the ivermectin, you might say. Bearders 22, Via Verde transponder just arrived, just 4 working days since I ordered it. Very good service. I had assumed that post from Portugal was hit and miss. It can be. That is fair to say, but it can be brilliant like that as well. Bearders, enjoy your transponder. Get married at a football stadium. Oh yes, very good lateral thinking there. That's right. And then you could have thousands of people and they can all hug and kiss each other. Very good, Stephen. Very, very good. This is a kind of genius that this show attracts. Sport is a core mechanism of capitalism. That's why it's allowed. Doc, would you care to comment?
Well, certainly football is, with the amount of sponsorship around it and the ridiculous, obscene amounts of money that flow around, at player level and club level, and shareholder level, obviously. There are sports still that are not pillars of capitalism, but football is certainly guilty as charged.
Yeah, where we go back to Yorkshire for a minute. Where there's muck, there's brass, and where there's money, rules are twisted, aren't they? Let's face it. As we see with the G7 and with the I mean, it's very difficult for people who don't like football to see that, isn't it? Because people who do like football will be thinking, oh, this is our big moment. You only have this tournament every 4 years. But for people who have no emotional connection with football, they're looking at it, possibly having not been to a funeral for restriction reasons, or a wedding, or cancelling their wedding, and they see all these people, thousands of them in a stadium. I can understand the bitterness that would arise.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 40 years and still in love. 40 years for a Ruby.
I was right. Woohoo!
Still in love as well. So we have been talking about marital harmony. Carpe diem. What is your secret? And Rudy, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Coaching you there, Doc, I think, Rudy, a little while ago. Our friends, English kids, went to school in Marina Grande. Yeah, that's a good shout because there is a good school.
Was that at Click at the international school?
And this is a good recommendation on that basis, isn't it? To be near the sea, to be near Leiria, to be up country a bit, and access to an international school there. No wonder Doc's off to the clinic because he's making some strange noises this morning. Yes, we can. Even though you didn't think we could hear you, we can hear you going in the background. Hola, bon dia, todos. Already been tending the horta this morning. Another big snakeskin found this morning, and a sighting yesterday of a live snake in the compost heap, over 1 meter long. You like snakes, Doc?
I don't have a problem with snakes. I've not been trained to handle them, but I've enjoyed the experience at the zoo. So yeah, I don't have a problem with snakes. I have a healthy respect for them. I'm not going to go treading on them or jabbing them with a stick in the countryside. I'll maintain a safe distance. You know.
Have you ever dealt with a snake bite? I mean, I don't mean a lager and cider concoction. I mean an action, because I know you've dealt with those once or twice. But have you dealt with an adder bite or anything like that when you were in practice?
No, the liquid version of snake bite is much more common in Handsworth than the slithering version.
with a dash of blackcurrant if you're feeling really exotic. Morning all, bit late this morning, been out cutting the grass before it gets too hot. Hope I haven't missed too much. You've missed loads, Jacqueline CDM, but you can always catch up on YouTube. Bon dia, pessoas from João Gloria. Good morning to you, João Gloria. Great to have you here. Ella Linda, the only solution I found for my hay fever and asthma was to move out of Portugal. That's drastic, isn't it?
No, terrible.
Very good one. A lot of talk about hay fever. Gary, try using some local. Yes, that's a good one.
Local honey, yeah.
That's a version of inoculation, isn't it? Really, try using local honey on your toast. It may get you more used to the local pollen slowly, and does remind me of the days when travellers would eat a bit of soil locally as well to inoculate themselves. I don't suppose British GPs recommended that, did they, very often?
No, but it makes sense. But you know, GPs became increasingly worried about the GMC and the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, and whether or not they might be hauled up for suggesting that a good spreading of humus instead of hummus on your bread would be a good idea.
Because this is what was being talked about here, in the way that the Pope gets down on his knees and kisses the terra firma. This is taking it a step further and having a little nibble on the local soil to acclimatise yourself with the local biological life, I suppose, at microscopic level. Brilliant. NHS figures from last week show that 50% of deaths were from vaccinated people. No difference in base numbers of deaths. Why are vaccinated people dying of COVID, and why the same number? Good question.
Okay, so there more than 50% of the population have been vaccinated, and so if only 50% of deaths are from vaccinated people, then that is an argument to say that vaccinations are working. I'd have to drill down. I mean, that's a broad view, immediate response. But you would expect, if the vaccine wasn't working and you had 80% of people vaccinated, you would expect 80% of deaths to be of vaccinated people. So if the percentage of deaths among vaccinated people is less than the percentage of the vaccinated population, then that tends to suggest that vaccinated people are being protected. But as I said, I'd have to look at that data in a lot more detail.
And it's a bit early as well, isn't it? I think to be jumping.
Yeah, 6 weeks after the second vaccine to get up into the high 90% in terms of protection.
Okay, good question, good answer. Thank you, Doc. I'm fully vaccinated. Do I still need to get a COVID test? I think that is the important thing when you are entering Portugal. You do need a test.
At the moment, that it may well change shortly, but at the moment you do still need a test.
And that's the problem at the moment, isn't it? We were expecting things to ease, weren't we? And with the kind of news we've been talking about this morning, it looks like, that wonderful easing that may have occurred for Americans might not happen now. But I don't know officially. But to answer that question, B. Robinson, yes, you still need to have a test on entry, and the digital passport thing is also being rolled out here, which I think is an EU-wide thing and won't necessarily affect you. So yeah, make sure you get the right tests as well on the way in. Check out your national website for movement and the Portuguese side as well. I hold a Portuguese passport. Are there any additional social benefits, says Rudy, healthcare, etc., for Portuguese passport holders?
So definitely, the SNS will be available to you without jumping through hoops. Although the official paperwork suggests that anyone who's resident should get SNS coverage. In terms of benefits, the Social Security is a contribution-based system. So if you haven't contributed, there's very little you can get. There are benefits to make sure that no one with residence has less than the minimum income, which is a very low amount. And there are also benefits for people who are disabled.
All manner of tech difficulties for the doc this morning. He's frozen up there, but I think you got the gist of that, right, Rudy? It is good to have a Portuguese passport, Doc. And there he is. He's immortalized on the screen there for a moment.
I can see you and hear you.
We're getting short bursts of you there, but I think we got the gist of it, that it is beneficial to have a Portuguese passport, and it's one of these wonderful situations where Rudy is asking us expats about life in his own country, really, which happens from time to time, and is a real compliment, I think, as well. Susan Renshaw, thank you both for the advice. We'll try both routes. Yeah, and I put in the tissue salts links for anyone who's interested in that. I think it's very interesting, the whole tissue salts thing, how little offensive tablets can be helpful. Might be placebo, but nothing wrong with that. I think that the doc would agree. If it's what works that counts, and if it's a placebo, fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Rudy, thank you for that question. Let's catch up with those other comments and questions coming in. Hola, bon dia from Jersey in the United States. Bon dia, todos. 6 weeks to go for our trip. I'm loving the countdowns from people. I hope the COVID situation will be under control. And I think, yeah, under control. That's the key, isn't it, Doc? This idea that some politicians have of eradicating COVID is ridiculous, isn't it? This is about management, isn't it?
There's almost no virus or no microbe that we've managed to eradicate, except possibly polio. I'm not sure if there's still wild polio. Of course, anthrax was eradicated for a while, but appears to have made a resurgence, possibly through criminal or definitely criminal, but maybe official or unofficial releases of anthrax. So yeah, it's going to be about containment, not about eradication.
Absolutely, and you hear him saying it, don't you? We're gonna eradicate this virus, and no one's safe until it's gone. Mm-hmm. Who's briefing them to say such stupid? I mean, it just sounds like all-out political nonsense.
It's bonkers, absolute bonkers.
Yep. Okay. Rudy was born in Macau, a former Portuguese colony, one of the many tentacles of the Portuguese phenomenon, I'm going to call it. Hence the Portuguese passport. Sarah, yes, is going to get medical insurance with a helpline. I'm glad that was helpful. The beautiful game, says Gary, reflects so much that is ugly in the world: greed, vanity, corruption, nationalism, and inequality. Yep, well said. Voice of reason there. Yet still it has it. What is it though, Gary, that still attracts so many people, such that they put their hearts and souls on the line for these big tournaments, and every week with their favorite club? It's an amazing thing, isn't it, football? It really is in that respect. Just from a human nature point of view, don't you just love Doc Dimples when he laughs? Oh,
You asked what people should do in order to get their partner to follow them to Portugal, and the answer is to get dimples like mine.
have dimples like the Doc's. Is there a procedure for getting them, Doc?
No, mine are totally natural. And I'll sue anyone who suggests otherwise.
There you go. Cease and desist with that sort of talk about being on statins for familial hype. Oh, why would you do this to me, Bearders 22? I'm going to call it FH. Probably doctors call it FH since I was 18. Have been prescribed a new drug, bempedoic acid. The pharmacist said it was the first time he'd issued it. Has the doc heard of bempedoic acid?
I haven't. You have to remember that I last practiced as a GP 5 years ago, so this is obviously new. I haven't heard of it. I'm quite happy to try and remember to go and do some research, but and I hate statins, but for FH, they or something similar are very much necessary.
Okay, so for FH, I mean, are we talking a little bit like a distinction here between diabetes 1 and 2? You know, there is a form of it which you have to have treatment, and then there's a different, another type of the disease which requires a different management.
Well, no, FH is FH, but FH is very different to the normal diet-induced hypercholesterolemia that almost the majority of the population, Western population, now seem to suffer from. So when I was being trained, we were told that a cholesterol of 5 was totally acceptable, and then it started dropping. And the benefits were questionable, and the drive from Big Pharma to sell more statins was very clear. So I became very disillusioned with statins, except for people who had FH, because the risks with FH are considerably more than the general population.
There you go, Bearders 22, and thank you for clearing that up. There is some of that rascally behaviour that was mentioned before from pharmaceutical companies, where their mission to heal does overlap rather with their mission to make money, and statins is a great example of that. And here, the distinction being clearly made, not that grey area of cholesterol politics, but a particular condition, FH here, hypercholesterolemia, which we can't help you with on that particular treatment, Bearders, but the doc may well look into that and get back to you on that. But it sounds like it sounds pretty serious and something that you should certainly be getting a treatment for. And good luck with that new type of drug there. Thanks, Gary, from Susan, on the suggestion of taking some local honey, which is a nice thing to do anyway. Isn't it great when a remedy is actually pleasurable too, which you probably can't say about bempedoic acid. I mean, other things like that, Doc. Taking pills isn't as much fun as, let's say, the glass of red wine that gets recommended.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, to be honest, the risk of muscle pain from statins, and also the link to higher deaths from self-harm, suicide, were convincing. Apart from the huge number needed to treat to prevent one death, that was a figure that we were always told to look at, and the number for statins was ridiculously high.
Interesting on statins there. This is a great question, and your doctorly perspective would be excellent on this. Is there a chance that you could stand in a crowded room full of people infected with COVID and not get infected yourself? Surely, yes.
If you have antibodies that prevent you actually contracting the infection, yes. If you are lucky enough to swerve any droplets, yes. So if you haven't got a 4-leaf clover in your pocket and you haven't got antibodies, then the answer is probably no.
But the interesting thing here then is the nuance in being infected and becoming ill, which is something that we don't talk about a lot. And that's where the immune system comes in, presumably, because it's not like this has always occurred to me that human beings are becoming ill with things all day long. but the miracle and wonder and efficiency of their body doesn't even let them know that anything's gone wrong. And this is what's going on, is it? Is that a reasonable, or is that just a sort of romantic view of health?
Well, that's part of it, but you've missed out. You've described 2 levels, but there are 3 levels of contact with COVID. So the worst is symptomatic, so you contract the illness and you become symptomatic. The second is asymptomatic infection, and the third is resisting and fighting off the infection before you even become infected. And I suppose infection is a sort of a word that gets bandied around without people really knowing what it means. So does it mean you get one virus particle in your bloodstream and kill it? Does that count as an infection? Or do you have to have an infected cell that is reproducing virus particles? And I suspect that's the latter. So that's why you have 3 levels. You have, if you get cells that are reproducing viruses, then that's infection. If you fight the viruses off before that happens, that is sort of non-contracting contact.
Yeah, and you know, it is truly a thankless task, isn't it, that the body has in dealing with these things that we never even know occurred, presumably, if we don't get any symptoms or don't feel ill. And isn't that what, you know, that's worthy of a pause for a moment, isn't it, to know that our bodies are dealing with these things and we never even get to know about it. We get saved over and over again from something that could be quite injurious and difficult and painful and horrible. And it's been dealt with on our behalf by the miracle of our body
all the time.
Yeah, incredible. So thank you for that question that prompted that, Jacqueline. CDM. Ivermectin is made from bacteria found in soil, so not crazy after all. There you go. Although that is not an invitation to everyone to go out and eat soil. You know, be careful with that. Re-COVID test, you can do the Spanish swerve and bypass this is a set piece now, the Spanish swerve. Sounds like something from the football pitch. Can you come across the Spanish border? I don't think you can do that, can you, Doc?
I did.
Okay, so it can happen.
I think if you've got Portuguese residency, then you can get across the border without a positive test. Or you could, I don't know if you still can, but you need to check the level of control at the border, and you can find that on a website which I think is called reopen.eu.
Okay.
But I've referenced that before, and that website address might be wrong, but it's similar, and it gives you all of the up-to-date controls at the various methods of entry into a country. So, but whether it be by water, by land, or by air.
Yeah.
But obviously, you may not be able to get into Spain, so you need to make sure that the whole of your route is test-free.
Yeah, and I think the Spanish swerve maneuver there can happen on account of, like, they just need to move massive amounts of people across the border every day, which is much more difficult to manage than an airport, for example. And they want to get workers back and forth without having to test every day, obviously. So you could find yourself part of that, but I wouldn't build a plan on it. It could happen, but I don't think it's very reliable necessarily. Will Thompson is here. A bon dia with a big BOM in capitals there. Shall I come back on the show one day? Well, of course, Will. You know you're welcome here. Want some clarity or not? That sounds a little bit aggressive, though, I have to say, and a little bit judgmental. But you're certainly not barred from the show. And if anybody wants to keep up with your unique take on the pandemic, you're on BitChute now, aren't you? Having been on and off Facebook and probably not on YouTube anymore because of the way they don't like it up with your kind of information, I would say. You're on BitChute now. Feel free to put the link into your work in the comments, Will. I have been hearing about COVID spikes in Lisbon and Algarve. The numbers are going up, it would appear, right, Doc?
Yeah. The numbers of infections are certainly going up. The question is, as I said before, how much that's going to affect the hospitalisation and death rate, or whether it's going to be easily containable in the community with very little morbidity.
And the other side of that, of course, Jersey, is you will be hearing about spikes because that's how the news works. You probably won't be hearing news about dramatic drops. You'll just be hearing the drama of spikes because that's what the news is all about. You shouldn't swerve the Portuguese entry requirements as they apply to land border crossings. If stopped by GNR, you will need proof of a positive test. So they're backing up our hesitancy on that as a proper strategy. Excuse me, I just need a quick glass of water. Doc, over to you if you could fill in for me for a moment.
Yeah, sure. Where are we? So we've got Mark Rigby talking about deaths from COVID being at very low levels at present, and the evidence available to date is obviously not as much as there's going to be over the long term, and so we'll get answers after the event, as we know and knew always that's likely going to be the case. The evidence is that so far the benefits of vaccination outweigh the risks, absolutely, and I would encourage anyone to have the vaccination.
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
All right, carry on.
Jacqueline CDM, yes, because look at the Pacific Princess cruise line. I forgot the actual stated, but most never got it from memory. Okay, that was a little sort of microcosm analysis, wasn't it? With the I forgot all about the cruise liner scenario. Denise responding to Jacqueline CDM there. Smallpox and tetanus have been technically eradicated, I think, says Nubia Net. Cholesterol is the response to problems and inflammation. There is an increasing evidence that the real problem is calcium deposits in soft tissue. This fella Mark Rigby seems to know a thing or two. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Cholesterol isn't the response, but the laying down of cholesterol is that response. So absolutely. And some of that problem is the reduction in the consumption of essential fatty acids. One of the supplements that I take religiously. Okay,
essential fatty acids. These are the omegas.
That's right. Yeah, but I get mine from a vegetarian source because the fish get theirs from a vegetarian source. So why not bypass the middleman?
Oh, very good. Johnny in Belgium. Hello, where have you been? Bon dia, tourish from cloudy Belgium. 14 days left before our road trip to Portugal to sign the deed. Fantastic. Still a lot of work to do before we can leave. I'm getting a little nervous about this big step. Lots of love to you, Johnny. And you've been working, I mean, you've been with us on Good Morning Portugal pretty much since we started, and we've watched this unfold. I'm sure it'll be fine. And I'm sure a little bit of performance anxiety kind of stuff is only to be expected. But I think a beautiful life awaits you here in Portugal, Johnny. Wellington, New Zealand has gone to a level 2 because someone from Sydney came for a long weekend from the Delta strain. Nobody else has tested positive, and the man himself was vaxxed. So interesting little bits of snippets of information coming in from around the world. Good point about infection becoming ill, surrounded by viruses and bacteria all day, every day, and most of the time we don't become infected if we have a healthy immune system. Yeah, and that is the bit we have to do for ourselves, Doc, right? There's very little in the reporting or government direction. It's as though the government doesn't necessarily want you to be at the peak of fitness, right?
Well, of course they don't. They want you to keep putting money in their pockets through their big pharma dividend payment.
Oh, right. Okay, cynical, moi. Doctor, I keep thinking of a dog. Okay, jump on the couch and roll over. Very good, Gary. Dad joke du jour there from Gary Austin. The problem is modern diet and food industry working in collusion with pharmaceutical companies to keep us chronically ill. You're not disagreeing with that, Doc. Also, processed foods full of pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. There's DJ. A yes from the Doc. So yes, get your local honey, get your organic food, grow your own. Local honey worked for Nubia Net while I stayed in my area, but when I left the area, not so much. Now I use Flonase. Good to know. I'll definitely need to bring it to Portugal when I visit. Yeah, hay fever can be a bit of a thing here. Coming to the last ones now. It's 10:15. Designed to keep food on the shelves, but with no interest in the nutritional content of the actual food process. Simple answer. Eat pure, live, fresh, organically grown foods. Stay away from processed. It's true, isn't it? You can't, it's a treat maybe every now and then. It's convenient every now and then. But I think DJ's prescription there of pure, live, fresh, organic food just sounds delicious anyway. The virus can still breed in the airways, even though you're vaccinated, until it gets to the bloodstream where the antibodies are still reproduced and sheds. Is that an accurate analysis there?
Yeah, it's another way of talking about what I was saying earlier.
And isn't it amazing how many people have become experts on this, Doc, since in these last years?
We're all virologists and public health doctors now.
That's people used to say I'm not an epidemiologist, and some people are now saying I'm actually getting quite some way to becoming an epidemiologist. Actually,
some people used to say, "What's an epidemiologist?"
Yes, vitamin D and zinc. I haven't been sick in 2 years by doing this. Nubia Net says so. Zinc and vitamin D being recommended there. I've been taking some vitamin A myself just recently. I'm not advocating avoiding tests, as we both test twice a week in the UK, says Bearders. Just wanted to make that clear. No problem, no judgment here. And it was just an interesting question, Bearders. We got it on that level. Hey, Nubia Net. Yep, you're right with the vitamin D too. Yeah. I don't know what the fuss is about the vaccine. I think these antennae I've grown are rather fetching. Very good, Gary. Very good. And you've got an uncontrollable urge to buy Microsoft products as well now, I understand, as well as one of the side effects. Hi, guys. I'm new here. Hello, Kathleen. You're most welcome. I hope you like what you find here. Johnny, obrigado, Carl. Spanish tourist who used a friend's PCR test departing by plane from Belgium to Spain and did not want to pay the fine was given a 1-year effective prison sentence and a fine of €8,000. So that sort of malarkey is being clamped down and punished firmly. It's not worth it, is it? As a pale skin, brown head Brit, I seem to attract, it sounds like a blues song, little blighters that enjoy giving me a bite. This is the mosquitoes with consequential inflammation, soreness, and itching. Advice I have on preventatives is to have curry and garlic. Any other suggestions for building immunity against mosquitoes, Doc?
Citronella.
Okay, simple, one-word answer there. Can I get into Portugal unvaxxed with a positive test, of course? Yes, you can. You don't have to prove vaccination coming into Portugal yet. Andy via Austin, bon dia, Portugal. More great level-headed info from the Doc with a thumbs up there. Yeah, cheers, Doc. Really appreciate that. My partner is stuck in UK until late August. She is due her second vaccination and will need to get in the UK. Is there a way to register for this for her EU digital COVID passport? Not sure what the question is from Kenny Dunn there.
I think the first thing to do would be to get a signed letter from your doctor on practice-headed notepaper to give the dates, the type of vaccine, and the batch number, and then. But because they haven't finalised how the EU digital passport is going to work, then I can't say more than that. But you need the evidence first. That's the point.
Paper trail, paper trail, paper trail. It works well in Portugal. Just, get the official paperwork, Kenny Dunn. Good answer, Doc. Unless we all get back together. This is Alvara's leading epidemiologist speaking again, and virologist. Unless we all get back together, all viruses will become dangerous to us. Something to be said for that, isn't there, Doc? Managing the amount of contact between people as well, in a dynamic and useful way, as well as keeping everyone apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Doctor, oh, look at this. A classic. I mean, you must have had to face these, when people came to you and said, have you got something for liver or, pull yourself to these sorts of things. You've heard them all, haven't you, Doc?
Yeah, the answer is onions.
Okay. Good show as always from Jersey. Lavender in your sunscreen. That's for mosquitoes, I think. Give them a nice, aromatherapy massage, if nothing else. I am not anti-vaccines. However, mRNA vaccines for COVID, I wonder why it's been spelt like that, are delivered in lipid delivery mechanisms. They are supposed to stay in the arm, but recent study has shown that they move to ovaries and bone. Are you up to date with that reporting?
No, I'd have to look at that. I haven't seen that.
All right. What about people who I think probably can't have vaccines, Doc? I think there will be exemptions, won't there?
There will. If people have a medical reason not to have vaccines, then there will be exemptions. Most governments, even some of the unreasonable ones, work on that basis. I'm sure there'll be some countries in the world that won't have that sort of regime, but certainly Western Europe would not allow discrimination against people who have an affective disability, which an inability to have vaccines would count as, unless it was going to be vastly detrimental to the rest of the population, which it isn't. The vaccines work by getting a certain percentage of the population covered, not by getting 100% covered.
There you go. Thanks for the ice from Kenny. Just a couple more comments then before we go. Mosquitoes love me and lavender takes care of them for me anyway, says Nubian. That's been a great bit of advice there with the lavender and the citronella. Morning, gents, from Andrew Gilchrist. Another countdown here, 11 days and counting. The great convergence of the expats via Expats Portugal in coming this way, heading this way. Fantastic. Exemptions, ivermectin. I'm not sure what that means. So people who are exempted from the vaccine could use ivermectin as an alternative or a supplementary.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, and of course on religious grounds as well. I think any right-thinking authority, government will allow, as well as a medical exemption, a religious or philosophical one as well, a conscientious objection of some sort. There shouldn't be discrimination on anything that is not obligatory. Quite right, I would agree with you entirely there, Jacqueline. Civilized, the marker of a civilized society, right? We try. Mrs. Beard is his best solution for mosquitoes. They like her more than me. Okay, there's another solution. Get yourself.
You're going to rent her out.
Yes.
You're going to rent her out as a mosquito attraction.
It's like free meal with every purchase.
Yeah.
And a contraindication from the resident aromatherapist, citronella can cause skin reactions in some people. So you just burn the candle. Look at Andrew working the room. Morning, ladies of GMP. Check him out. The Doc, I think you got to go. We've all got to go. Thank you so much.
I have to go, yeah.
We've worked you hard. We've worked you hard. Good luck. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now.
Bye.
My goodness, we did work him hard and we went on tour with him, didn't we, in his motor? That was fantastic. The tour of Marini Gran and Leiria there. Thank you, everybody, for all your questions. Absolutely brilliant session this morning. And 1 hour and 23 minutes of Expats Portugal. Good morning, Portugal goodness. Thanks to you all. So, yeah, tomorrow evening, the wine club with the, what's it called? Vidigueira signature. And of course, before that, we have Gilda Pereira from Immigrant coming in to talk about visa myths and misconceptions from 7:30. Get yourself booked on that if that's going to be of use to you. Tomorrow morning, of course, Snatty Phil is here. Oh, yeah, Gary, hold on a minute. Ivermectin. What's that then? We will be talking to Snatty Phil tomorrow about the law of attraction. So there's an entirely different view on life, right? We have been talking about, a very rational, actual medical scenario this morning. A little bit of fear, in there as well. Here's another level of looking at it: the transcendent, the supernatural, you might say. Talking about how we might configure our minds to get different results in life using the law of attraction. Thank you very much for your kind words, Stephen Wells. Great show as always. Thanks. So take care. Bye for now. Have a great day. And we will see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao. Abrazos, beijinhos. Teja, hasta logo. Tamanya. There you go.